Hi there, welcome to my crafty space. I'm Julie. Today we're going to talk about organizing our stamp collection. I don't know about you, but when the new format came in, my head was spinning once again on how I was going to reorganize my stamp collection. And let's face it, if we have to reorganize or craft, I think crafting is going to win out every single time. But sometimes we just have to take a pause, reorganize so that we can craft more efficiently. As some of you may know, when I transitioned from Close to My Heart to Stampin' Up, I struggled from the beginning on how to store my new stamps and dies. This is the format that Stampin' Up has been known for years, decades actually. And it came in a DVD case. And I was lucky enough that I did have an older Billy Bookcase DVD tower, and I was able to store them in there. But I grew out of that space within a really short amount of time. As a content creator, I need to have a good supply of current and older stamp collections so that I can share some beautiful projects with you all. So this here was a little bit of a struggle. And if you know the Stampin' Up way of storing, their dies come separately. There's no photos at the front, which to me that was a real problem because I always had to struggle to find out what was inside. And they came in two different packaging, so I had to repackage, if you want, them so that they would live in one DVD case. And I thought, you know what, this is good, this is going to work, but these are quite wide. So Stampin' Up has decided to, for many reasons, go to this format here. One of the reasons is that they will no longer create red rubber stamps. So those were a little bit more thick. Everything is going to be polymer stamps with dies. So that is a good thing because take a look at the difference. Do you see that? Really, really thin and very similar to what Close to My Heart used to do. However, there's quite a bit of difference in height. And that was a little bit of a struggle, but you know what? I'm going to walk you through my journey into trying to find the perfect solution, and it took me a little while to get there. Now, before we talk about the solution, let's talk about real life. And this was my situation in my crafty space. This little tower here had outgrown my collection very, very quickly. And in reality, my brand new Christmas stamp sets were sitting in a box with nowhere to go. You know that feeling when you have brand new stamp sets and they don't have a place to go? Yeah, that was me. So I decided that I needed to make changes. One of the changes that needed to happen was to find a solution to store these sleeves. And you'd think it'd be easier than that. Now, what is super important is that these need a clearance of 6 inches wide. And I'm not gonna lie, I was in the dollar store, any store that had crafting bins with my measuring tape, my little sleeve, and I was trying them out. And I was quickly running out of solutions because, let's face it, the number one solution, we don't want it to cost a fortune. And number two, we want options to grow. So that was my main focus. I'll talk about my labels in a minute. Let me share with you some of my finds and some of my fails. Now, this was the first one that I picked up. This was at the dollar store, and I don't know about you, but here in Canada at the dollar store, once you buy it, it is yours forever. So my advice to you is to either bring a measuring tape or a little sleeve with you. And for this one here, I did not. And I want to show you what's really important. So when you are selecting, and these are part of the, the freezer bins or the fridge bins, you will notice that they taper in. And that is the number one issue when you're trying to find a bin that's going to work for these sleeves. Well, first and foremost, it didn't fit. It did clear the top, but as you can see here, it doesn't even go down the bottom. So this was a fail. So I did not pursue this solution. And then I went to the Dollar Tree, and in the Dollar Tree, what is nice about them here is that you can purchase them. If it doesn't work, you can exchange them. So I purchased 2, and I did have my sleeve with me, and look at that. It really fits. It fits all along. It's nice and tall. So this is also important because the sleeves are so tall. It is nice and tall. And I can see my stamp collection growing in these. The only downside is that it's quite wide. You see this rim? Now, depending on what shelf you're going to put this bin in, that could be an issue. It did fit in my Billy bookcase, but it was taking up quite a bit of space. Now let's go through these stamps and the sleeves and what is important to note. Now the first thing is these are no longer. These are going to fade out as they sell out. And the main reason, as far as I know, the reason why they had these DVD cases is because of these red rubber stamps. Do you see how thick they are? And that was the #1 reason for this storage solution. And back in the day, it was probably a really good solution. But we've talked about this before, how thick this is. But it's also really nice. I've seen a lot of craft room tours where a lot of the ladies really like that they can see the name because it sits really nicely in a shelf. And they've just grown to love that system and it works for them. Now for me, when I transitioned from close to my heart and I had to negotiate this thickness, I wasn't too thrilled about it because I was able to store a lot of stamps because do you see how thin that is? And yes, inside here, I have both my stamp, my dies. They used to come on a great magnetic sheet and they fit right inside this pretty reasonable size sleeve. I love that they had the stamped images and the blue background here showed me how many dies I had in here. When I moved to Stampin' Up, I quickly realized that the die cut offering was much, much more. There's definitely more dies in their collection, and that's probably why they had them in different sleeves. Now, I did not like the way they came. If you are familiar with how these come, they do come on a piece of cardboard. It is tacked down and you have to pry it off. Eventually, it becomes easier to pull off that die off of that little piece of double-sided tape. But I was so used to a magnetic sheet that I really didn't want to change that format. So I started to repackage everything. And you know what? That's not always a good thing, but I felt that for me and to keep everything together, because let's remember, we didn't have the pictures of what dies were inside of the packaging. And I really wanted to keep them in the same DVD case. I figured this case has taken up so much room. Let's put them together. So these are 5x7 sleeves. So I was purchasing sleeves and I was also purchasing these magnetic sheets. Let's take a look at the brand new sleeves and the brand new packaging from Stampin' Up. Now, first thing, and it might not be a big thing to you, but for me, this is how the dies came in. So I had no idea what was inside. I really had to flip over and look at what was inside. Look at this. This is your dies, and there's a photo on the front. I don't even have to open it. I know exactly what it is. I'm going to flip this over. This is where I'm going to keep my polymer stamp. Now, when I first got this, and when you do purchase these, they will come in 2 separate sleeves. One for the die and one for the stamp set. These sleeves here, you will notice that this flap is quite long and I find it a little cumbersome. So I am just going to tuck that in here, just like so. And then I'm going to add both my dies and my stamps back to front. I'm going to sneak these in here. And there you have it, the perfect sleeve for both your stamps and your dies. Now, will I continue purchasing new sleeves? No, so I don't need to purchase that. Will I continue purchasing magnetic sheets? I will. That is just a preference for me. Let me show you one more time. So when I pull these out, this is how they come in this little cardboard sheet, and they are tacked down with some tape. I'm just not a fan, and that is just a preference of mine. Let me know what you prefer and how you store your dies, but for me, having the magnetic sheet is a definite plus. Before I show you the winning bin or the winning storage solution, if you want, let me show you this one here because I am still using it, and I'll show you why. This one here I purchased because originally this was the perfect size for my Stampin' Up! Sleeves. It's absolutely perfect. It's almost all the way up to the top, but in a pinch, and because I was being a little frugal, I didn't want to spend all that money on brand new bins again, I tried these ones here. And yes, they're a little bit loose, but in a pinch, this totally works. And these were from Stereolite, and I think you can still get them at Walmart. So I am going to keep using them. We're going to talk about these little labels in a second. I will be using them until I purchase more of the winning bin. Speaking of the winning bin, let me clear these out. So my husband, out of the blue, asked me, do you want to go to IKEA? And I'm like, yeah, I want to go to IKEA. I went to IKEA armed with a little sleeve, and I thought, maybe I'll find something. Because I knew that I had this back at home, I guess the pressure was off a little bit, and I just went in there with an open mind, and you never know. IKEA is a really good solution for any craft room. I was walking in their storage area, and take a look at this. Take a look at this. It fits beautifully. It has a beveled edge at the front, and it's not going to break the bank. These here in Canada are $4.99, and I need 6. For whatever reason, I picked up 4. That's okay. I'll go back to IKEA. But the reason why I decided to go with this bin, it is definitely sturdy. It is nice and strong. This one here fits. Let me just move these out of the way. This one here does fit, but look at the size difference. I do like that this is taller, but see how much room it takes in width? And if that's an issue for you, then this one here is nice and narrow. I do like that it tapers down, and look at that. When I put my sleeve in here, it is absolutely perfect. Once this is nice and full, I will be able to see all of my stamp collection. I will most likely store them so that I can see the name of them, and I can thumb through them as my collection grow. You can see here that this is going to provide me with a lot of room to grow and keep collecting all of the beautiful stamp sets that I want to create with. Let's take a look at how I'm going to label those bins, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very inexpensive. If you have a printer at home, it is something that is easy to change, and as we all know, we need options to change. So I thought I'd make it cute. Why not? You can still make it cute. So I decided to use this die, and it has a really nice little detail. You probably can't see it all that much because it is black, but I did go ahead and I printed this first on a piece of just copy paper, and then I adjusted the size so that it would fit really nicely inside. So you can see here that I have 2 already for Christmas, and I did group them together to the best of my ability with what I have now. So for me, birthdays and sentiments was a good mix or a good combo. Then I have, of course, florals and butterflies. That is another good combo. Travel in Halloween, not so much, but hey, that's what I have. I have some travel stamps and a few Halloween stamps, and I have a typo right here. I'm going to have to change that. And then I have trees and foliage. So I'm going to correct this, and I just want to show you, like, I am literally just adding double-sided tape, popping this right in the center, and let me get a bin. I'm going to bring in this one, of course, so that I can show you, although this is not Christmas, so that I can show you once again how nice it fits inside this little bin. I'm going to take my bin. I am going to take some double-sided tape. I think that the tearaway tape is going to be strong enough. Now, I don't want it to be too strong because I want the ability to swap this out. Because it's just printed on regular cardstock, it's going to be really, really easy for me to swap these out as my collection grow or as my collection changes. Let's come back here for a moment. These are my 2 Billy bookcases. They are 15 inches wide, and the reason why I love these is that, you know what, they're not retired. It's not a dollar store item. It is not a thrift item. This solution is affordable and you can probably find it where you are. What I love about these is that you can adjust these shelves to fit pretty much anything. So let's take a look at how these look now that they're on the shelf. My plan moving forward is that I am not going to repackage these DVD cases. They can live beside the brand new storage solution that I have. This will definitely grow, and I can put double, if not triple, the amount of stamps in here. And I think that that's going to work fine. Now, if I have to put them in the little bin, they also fit in the bin. But if I move out of the way here, you can see that this is a really good storage solution, and there's room. There is definitely room to grow. What I really love about these bins is that they do come down, so it tapers down. And when I want to craft, I'll be able to take out a bin, work with that bin, and then I'll be able to put it right back on my shelf. These are my Christmas stamps, and you can see that I have quite a bit of those. I'm sure that we all do, but this is definitely a really good solution for growing into the new system, which are these sleeves right up here. So right now, I might have to add some little spacers to keep them up because I have one in here, but you can see that I can definitely make these grow into something else. I will list the name of this product down in the description box below, and if you think that this is a good solution for you, they're inexpensive, and I do like that they're nice and sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move these up. I'm going to add it to my Billy bookcase. I don't know about you, but reorganizing just a small section in my crafty space to make it easier. I love my labels. I didn't have labels when I first moved to Stampin' Up, so the fact that I have labels now makes this even easier for me. They are inexpensive and easy to swap out, even if all my categories don't really make sense right now. This is where I am in my crafty journey. I do hope that you found this helpful and you can apply some of these to your crafty space. Did I inspire you to get more organized so that you can craft more efficiently? Let me know in the comments down below. That's it for me today. I hope you have yourself a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. If you're looking for more craft room organization ideas, I have a playlist right here I think you might like. See you there.